So, ladies and gentlemen, we got to talk about some Star Wars news. Recently, all the buzz has kind of been about Starfighter and, Sean Levy, the cinematographer, and all that sort of stuff. And I think that's cool. I mean, I'm kind of excited for Starfighter. I don't know how y'all feel, but I'm kind of excited for it. However, there was some news that came out, must have been late last week. And I didn't talk about it at the time because it's kind of depressing. TBH, but I guess we could talk a little bit about it here. Now, let's get into this. Because this all came out in the wrap, okay? And there's some community notes bullshit here, which, like, I don't know about community notes, man. I think community notes actually isn't that great. But they do mention here that they wrote this in a speculative way, not as a scoop. But essentially, the wrap has said that the first installment in Simon Kinberg's Star Wars trilogy is said to be the canonical Episode 9. Now, there were documents released that actually had mentioned that Sharmeen Obaid-Chinoy's movie was going to be called Episode 9. I don't know if you guys remember this, but that was a thing as well. Okay? There's a lot to suggest that they have wanted to do, or rather, Episode 10. They have wanted to do Episode 10, 11, and 12, even though Kathy went on this whole thing about how they're not going to do trilogies and shit like that. Out of nowhere, earlier in the year, there was this big scoop that went in the Hollywood trades talking about how Simon Kinberg was writing the next trilogy for Star Wars. And up until now, there was never anybody else in the Hollywood trades that was suggesting that this was Episode 10, but it kind of seems like it will be. Now, I just got to say, I'm not too happy about this. Because, first of all, Simon Kinberg, I just don't think is good. I'm sorry. I just don't think Simon Kinberg is good. Directing repertoire, very much not great. Writing repertoire all over the place. Now, to be fair to Simon, he was involved in some Dave Filoni stuff and seemed to work well within that system. I think he helped on some Rebel stuff. Yeah, so there's a little bit of hope there. But Simon Kinberg is just really not... He's not that guy, man. I don't know what to tell you. He's just plainly not that guy, okay? And if the actual Star Wars plan is to develop a trilogy that's the next saga, and that trilogy is supposed to see Rey as the Obi-Wan figure here, which that's the rumor, guys. We have to be clear about this. That is the rumor. So the rumor, even for the Sharmeen Obaid-Chinoy movie, you got to remember the first time that thing was being written by Damon Lindelof and his writing partner, that film was going to be 70-year-old Rey, and Rey was supposed to be the Obi-Wan of it. That's what it was. When Jeff Snyder was talking about that scoop back in the day, that's what it was. Rey's the new Obi-Wan. Just like how Luke kind of becomes the Obi-Wan of the new trilogy, which is it's laughable because he's the grumpy, fuck the Jedi, I guess I'll just die Obi-Wan, terrible Obi-Wan. But you could see the pattern, you could see the thinking there. We take the star of the old trilogy, we make them the new Obi-Wan, we pass the baton to these new characters. I'm only bringing that up because there's actually a lot of smoke suggesting that these plans have been percolating over at Lucasfilm, that this is something they want to do. And so, frankly, what I think is going on is the evil empress herself, Kathleen Kennedy, is shoring up a few things before she leaves the room. She may indeed be leaving Lucasfilm as president, maybe even in January, okay? But as I've told you guys, she's going to fart in the room before she leaves, and that stink is going to linger. And I think a Simon Kinberg Star Wars trilogy with Rey as the Obi-Wan character as the next saga is just about the stinkiest fart one could leave in said room before exiting it. So this shit does not inspire a lot of hope. I'm not pumped about this. It's kind of fucking depressing if I'm being honest. However, I'll give you one small caveat. I'll give you one small hope here, okay? And that is that, number one, I guess it's possible they get rid of this shit and they don't do it anymore. I don't think that's what it's going to be. So we have to hope that Mr. Dave Filoni is in this writer's room, and as the creative officer, chief creative officer, that he is heavily involved in making sure that this shit is not yes. I suppose there is a scenario, there is a way for this to work. And maybe Sean Levy's movie is secretly there to rehabilitate the character of Rey and to set her up as this Obi-Wan figure. And maybe the young man in the Rey movie will actually be the new main character, the new protagonist. Talk Warhammer instead. Look at you guys complaining. This is crazy to me. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe like there's some rehabilitation going on. There's some 60 chess plans to make, this movie more appealing, the time period more appealing, whatever, right? I just think it's a terrible idea, man. I just think it's a terrible idea. I understand that Kathy probably wants to preserve the assets that were created under her tenure, mainly Rey and the sequel trilogy characters. I totally understand that from a business perspective, but like it feels a little bit like the Sony thing. I mean, Sony finally gave it up, right? They finally gave it up, and one of their presidents or executives on the way out was like, "The shit's snake bitten. It doesn't even matter if it's good. Everybody's just going to shit on it." He was actually right, and that's what it is. I think with the sequel trilogy stuff with Star Wars, it's snake bitten. It doesn't matter. It literally does not matter how good you make this thing. I think it's going to get moans and groans. I think people will shit talk it the entire way. It's going to be a terrible experience for the fandom, preparing for it, getting ready for it. We'll all just show up, roll our eyes. I think it is an absolutely terrible idea. I suppose there is a scenario in which maybe after the next couple of years, I get a little bit more excited about it. And one other thing that's actually kind of nice about this is, even though I don't think Kinberg's the guy, I don't think he's that guy, there is something to be said for actually having a plan. You know, way back in the day when they were making these Star Wars movies, they approached Michael Arndt, really good writer, and Michael Arndt was working on the script for the first Star Wars movie, and Michael Arndt said to Kathleen Kennedy, to Bob Iger, to everybody, guys, you need years. You need to take years and map this trilogy out properly, and you need to have this thing figured out. You need to write all the movies together, then you can create the movies. They told Michael Arndt, thank you, get fucked, and now Lawrence Kasdan and J.J. Abrams are going to write this thing on the fucking set of the movie. There's all those shots of them with the big red script on the set as Kasdan and JJ are writing this thing on the fly, okay? Anyway, the point is this. At least they are doing what they should have done way back then. And that would be actually letting a writer, albeit I don't think a very good one here, take the time to craft an actual trilogy of stories, to have the scripts and the stories planned out, and then you make the movies. That is better than two guys that have completely different ideas about what Star Wars is having some kind of conversation back and forth in a really whack-ass trilogy, okay? So, I guess if you want to be really, really hopeful, maybe, with the help of some other writers and maybe even Dave, maybe Kinberg can crack this thing and maybe he creates a trilogy that's actually, at the very least, a well-thought-out, completely planned first, second, and third act story, and that would be way better than what happened in the sequels. But on the other hand, man, there is just a lot here that does not inspire hope, and I am not that excited about it. So that's the news. That's my take. Any thoughts, comments, questions? What do you guys think? What do you think of this? You think I'm crazy? Are you excited? What do you think? We haven't seen Rey do anything. The sequels are within such a short time span. To have her like Kenobi is crazy. I agree. Sony still won't share Eddie Brock, but Marvel can use Venom. I mean, I don't know what to tell you on that one. Maybe. I don't even know if that's true. Yeah, Warhammer. Yeah. No, I 100% think it's Warhammer time, man. Like, especially for the Star Wars fans. Star Wars fans, you guys just need to jump ship to Warhammer. Like, dead ass. Like, I can enjoy some Star Wars stuff here and there, and maybe it can turn around. But, like, guys. I think a lot of what you loved about Star Wars, I think a lot of the stuff that you enjoyed about Star Wars is actually still going on in Warhammer. And the difference is it's being cared for by storytellers. You have the Black Library Group, you have Dan Abnett, you just have people that are actual storytellers, and the corporation is allowing the storytellers to drive the thing. Whereas in Star Wars, it is the corporation that drives the thing, and the storytellers try to pick up the pieces where they can and make it make more sense. Like it's just not the same. It is a world of difference. If Rey's in the Levy movie is that rehab project setting up episode 9, it could work. Filoni needs to be heavily involved. Yes, technically, that is the only way I think it could work. And yes, if they did that, maybe. We don't have to lie about Warhammer. Oh, well, there's no lies detected, brother. No lies detected. Man, stuff I'm reading in Warhammer books is so much cooler than Star Wars. It is so much cooler. It's so much cooler. Bring John Boyega back and give him a lightsaber and good plot. Less Rey. You know, an acquaintance of mine actually hung out with John Boyega recently. It wasn't theory. And they actually cracked Pokemon packs with John Boyega. Can you fucking believe it? John Boyega seems just like a really chill dude. You know, I wish him well and all that. But I hope we go 1,000 years into the future. So there's no more Finn. Sorry, bud. Black Templars. What's the coolest shit in Star Wars? What's like your favorite stuff in Star Wars? I will tell you the Warhammer equivalent and why it's better. This Warhammer thing is all right, Yawn. Oh, wait, what was I watching? Hey, you don't say that. Fucking Patty Poop. Patty Poop. The Force. Yes. So the Force is cool, obviously. Why is the Force cool? Because it's space magic, okay? It allows you to move shit with your mind. Some people can blast lightning bolts. You could see when things are coming. You can move super fast. You could dodge things and blast, you know, with your lightsabers and shit like that. All of that is in Warhammer. It's just through the warp. You have psychers, okay? So you have Force users in Star Wars. You've got psychers in Warhammer. And the difference is in Warhammer, they're all high T monsters that slaughter and kill. And in Star Wars, they're a bunch of pussies. I'm sorry, the Jedi are. They're all just a bunch of pussies. And I used to like the Jedi. You know what I mean? I used to want to be a Jedi. And then I grew the fuck up. And now I want to be jacked to the gills with crazy armor. And yes, I want to shoot lightning out of my fucking arms. And I want it. Oh, let's go. Like, it's so much better. All right, anything else? Darth Nihilus. Darth Nihilus is pretty fucking cool. But then you have, like, the Chaos Gods. You know what I mean? Like, the Chaos Gods, Darth Nihilus. Even Abaddon himself is like, I think, and people in Warhammer community talk shit on Abaddon, but Abaddon is fucking cool, dude. I think he's cooler than Darth Nihilus. Revan's pretty cool. Revan is pretty cool, man. Revan is pretty cool. Maybe one of the coolest things in Star Wars. Who's the Revan equivalent? Is it one of the Primarchs, perhaps? Yeah, I don't know. Revan's pretty cool. Plagueis is pretty cool. Malgus is pretty cool. Guys, have you realized all of the stuff you just mentioned is, like, most of it's not in the Disney stuff? Do you guys realize you're saying all the stuff that's, like, not in the Disney stuff? I think what maybe we're realizing here is that there actually were some cool elements in Star Wars, and Disney was like, nah. You don't got Nurgle in Star Wars. True. Let's be honest, Christopher Nolan filmography is better than George Lucas. I wouldn't disagree with you there. Dash Rendar. Dash is cool, man. Dash is really cool. I would say Eisenhorn is probably like the Dash equivalent or whatever. You know, Eisenhorn is actually a lot more like Kanan Jarrus. Yeah, man. Yeah. EU supremacy. The EU had some cool stuff for sure. Yeah. right. I guess there's still some cool stuff in Star Wars. But I'm just telling you, man, Warhammer is really fucking cool. And Warhammer, as a fan, I just feel like I'm being taken care of a lot better than Star Wars. Not interested in guns. I like swords. Who just uses swords in Warhammer and don't have all the armor? Well, there's a bunch of people that use swords. So the thing that's interesting about swords in Warhammer is because there's chaos and you're fighting demons sometimes, swords are actually way more useful than bolters or guns like that. So I would say that, and there's a couple of really interesting without armor. I mean, that's kind of tough. Eisenhorn, but he kind of has some armor. He wears some armor here and there, but he's got a very cool power sword. There are demon swords, right? So obviously Abaddon has a demon sword, but so does one of the Tau. One of the Tau has a demon sword, and it's so cool because he's like not getting corrupted by it because the Tau don't have like really powerful souls or whatever. So that's pretty crazy. My favorite people that use swords in the setting are the blade wizards or the blade champions of the Custodes. Now, technically, they wear armor for sure, but they don't use any melee, or rather shooting. They don't use any range weapons, strictly power swords, and they have these like master crafted relic versions of power swords, and they are some of the baddest motherfuckers in the setting. You basically teleport your blade champions into the center of the battlefield and send them right at the most powerful enemy thing. And they are like, I mean, they're crazy. There's the Harlequins, of course, the Eldar swords people. Holy shit, they're crazy too. Yeah. Yep. All right, so there we go. Star Wars, that's your update. Warhammer's the future. That's your Star Wars update. Warhammer's the future.